I'm David Esrati. I'm running for Congress, and you are not. Be glad, because running for Congress isn't a whole lot of fun. A lot of work, a lot of calls, a lot of asking for donations. And I was hoping we'd have the other side up for that donation one, not that one, but that's okay. So, we're going to talk about things getting expensive and inflation and pressures on the American population on cost of living increases and what's causing it and whose fault it is. Well, first off, let's be clear. There's inflation going on the whole world over, number one. Why? Big part of it is Ukraine is one of the major food producers for the entire planet. And right now there's these little guys called Russians who basically cut them off from their seaboard ports, and they're playing havoc with things, throwing bombs at them all the time, and we're not doing a whole lot to change that. That we need to fix, okay? It's time to tell the Russians, get their butts out of there, because they're going to go broke, and it's all Putin's fault, and if they can't figure that out, as Russians, we're not doing a very good job of telling the Russian people what's really happening. All right, so, cost of gas. Got a little surprise for you. When there was so much gas in the storage tanks and so much oil in storage tanks that the price actually went negative during COVID because there was no place for it to go. Nobody was driving. Did the price of gas fall to zero? Did it fall to $1? Did it fall below $1? Did it fall to $2? Nope. Why not? Nobody was using any of it. Should have been free. Get it out of there so we can fill those tanks back up. But nope. It stayed around $2 a gallon. Other parts of the world, the price of gas stayed a lot higher. Okay? In fact, in Europe, they've been paying somewhere between $8 and $10 a gallon when you convert the liters to gallons for a long time. Okay? So we've had artificially cheap gas for a long time. Why? Because selling cars and fixing roads and fixing them with oil-based products like asphalt is the American way. We've got to make sure those oil companies make lots of money so they can give it back to the politicians, who then strap you with all kinds of other bills that they don't really want to talk about, and which you seem to be not so worried about. You sit there and say, well, we should have built that wall. Well, actually, wait a second, Mexico was supposed to pay for it. That didn't happen. So we've got all these things. It's the Mexicans' fault. You know, people coming over from the south, they're taking our jobs. No, that's not it. Price of gas is regulated by the oil industry, who's having record profits. But that isn't really is that expensive. Gas has been $4 and $5 a gallon before. If it's $6, $7, oh well. Interest rates. Now the Fed is screwing around with those, but I've got to tell you, there was a time during Ronald Reagan's presidency where interest rates on a home loan were 16%. So 5% is not the end of the world. Even 6% is not the end of the world. We've had artificially low interest rates ever since the big implosion of Wall Street in 2019. Wait a second. In 2009. That we did absolutely nothing to the people who inflicted that kind of pain on us. Didn't do a thing to put any of those people in prison. Let them go and do their thing. So, let's be clear. Price of gas, interest rates, price of food. Yeah, it's going up. Price of labor. Yeah, it's going up. But it isn't going up close to what some other things have gone up. You want to know what's gone up? I had shoulder surgery 3 weeks ago today. I get my health care through the VA. VA didn't have any orthopedic specialists available fast enough to do my shoulder, so I got sent to community care. Fine doctor. And this happens all the time. Community care has been around for a long time. It works. Okay, the VA hires people out. I went down to Cincinnati, and the guy who did my parathyroid surgery back in 2012 or 2013, he worked for UC. He was the best in the area. Okay, so this is not uncommon. But since it was sent through Community Care, I got these bills from Optum and United Healthcare, copies of them to tell me what's going on. I'll start with the little one. And it said that it has arthroscopy, shoulder, surgery. It's got 3 different codes, 3 of them. First one's $3,365, the second one's $3,000, the next one's $2,000, total of $8,365. You know what the VA paid? $1,450. You think, hey, that's pretty good savings, right? $8,300 down to $1,400. Guess what? That's the Medicare rate. Doctor's willing to do it for that. But our screwed up healthcare system that has these insurers in the middle, they allow people to play a lot of games, and we waste 35% of our healthcare dollars paying insurance people instead of paying medical people to do medicine. But that wasn't it. No, we get more bills. Second bill, arthroscopy, shoulder, surgery. Arthroscopy, shoulder, surgery, with code numbers. 4 of those. Anchor screw for opposing bow. Injection, anesthetic, age. Ultrasonic guidance for need. Total dollars billed, $97,001.32. How much did they pay? $4,217.50. So this guy billed $105,000 and the VA paid $5,500. You know how much this surgery costs anywhere else in the world? About $5,500. Why do we allow the healthcare industry to bankrupt Americans over minor surgical issues? Why? You don't want to know why? Do you really want to know why? Because the healthcare industry spends ungodly amounts of money lobbying Congress to keep it that way so their money machine keeps going. How much should somebody be paid to run a nonprofit hospital? Tell me. How hard is it to run a nonprofit hospital where you take everybody in, no matter what happens, because that's part of being a nonprofit hospital in America, and then you send bills home to people for $105,000, and then when they can't pay it, you come after them. How much does it take when there's only 2 hospitals in town? It's not really hard to run a hospital. It's hard to do the surgery. And I have no problems paying the surgeon more than the $5,500 if that's what it takes to stop paying $4 million for somebody like Kathy Bousalis, who used to be the head of Premier every year, to pay her $4 million a year to do that. She doesn't deserve $4 million. I don't care if you've got 6,000 employees or 7,000 employees. You don't get $4 million a year. You know why? Because 1, you're a nonprofit, and 2, most of your revenue doesn't come from your game playing bills. It comes from the people of the United States who are paying for that care, or people who can't afford insurance. So let's stop calling things healthcare and put it in perspective. And by the way, I didn't say anything in the chat, but if you got questions or you want to pipe in or you just want to say hi, I'd love to see you chat and show up in the chat, and I will respond. So, why are we paying Kathy Bousalis $4 million a year before she stepped down and the new guy came in? I've got no clue. And when they receive most of their money from public tax dollars, we need to put some restrictions on this ungodly pay. And again, the insurance middlemen, they can all go away. And we can get a lot more bang for our healthcare dollar and cover everybody and pay everybody and start spending money on educating more doctors, more nurses, more anesthetists, and get them able to work cost effectively. Now that also means we got to stop paying, by the way, the screw, the disposable screw that went in my shoulder, the anchor screw, which dissolves. They billed $1,019 and the VA didn't approve a dime. The injections for anesthetic, they billed $4,819.75. VA didn't pay anything. Ultrasonic guidance for need, $3,518. VA didn't pay anything. Why? Because that's part of the cost of the procedure. You can't do it one without the other. And this has got to stop. So, Suppose we fix the healthcare system and just provide single payer. Everybody goes in, gets healthcare, preventative healthcare, dental, vision, gets everything they need, hearing aids. So we have a healthy, functioning workforce that doesn't have to have employers regulating whether you leave your job or not because they control your healthcare and pre-existing conditions and everything else. Let's just get rid of all that crap. Have everybody have the same health care. If you want something special, you can pay for it on the open market. Great. But for most of us, you get your health care taken care of so you're healthy, so you can work and pay taxes. Now, the tax that we don't want to talk about that's gone through the roof is the cost of elections. It costs way too much to elect somebody to office. Nan Wheatley once spent $450,000 versus A.J. Wagner to run for mayor, and A.J. came up with like 180 or 190. The job only paid $54,000 a year for 4 years, folks. So you spend more than $200,000, which is about what A.J. spent. You're spending $2 to make one back. And she's not even spending her money. She's spending your money. This tax on citizens to get government is insane. We can provide a voter information system that solves all these problems and cuts out those costs and makes the whole thing work. We don't, because there's a whole industry, a $15 billion industry in the last presidential election, and that was just for the federal seat jobs. $15 billion when 4 years before that it was only $5 billion. That's inflation, folks, and you pay for that. You pay for that every single day because those corporations have to get the money out of you somehow so they can afford to buy their politicians to make laws that are favorable to them. We can stop that. You know, in England, they have a rule that you can't campaign for more than 6 weeks before an election. 6 weeks. We got people who are campaigning 2 years. They're already out campaigning to run for president for the next round. And why did they go to New Hampshire and Iowa first? How did somebody pick those 2 states over all the other 50? And why don't we have a primary? If we're going to have a primary, why don't we have it all on the same day? Because by the time we got to Ohio, we didn't even have a choice. Out of those 14 Democrats that were running, they were all gone. There was only one left. You call that a democracy? We've got our priorities so misplaced on this whole political thing. And we're talking about Democrats versus Republicans. And if you watch one of my earlier videos, a majority of you are neither. You're sick of both of them. Hell, I'm a Democrat, but I'm not on the Ohio Democratic Party site. The DCCC hasn't reached out to me. I hear their minimum time, they won't even talk to you until you raise $500,000. Give me $500,000 and I'll beat Mike Turner right now. Because I'm not like these other people who didn't know how to run a campaign or how to buy advertising or how to make advertising that's worthwhile. I was hoping to have a preview reel for you today, but that didn't come off the way it was planned. But tomorrow, if you tune in before 4 o'clock, you're going to get an eyeful, okay? I promise you that. Haven't seen any questions, haven't seen any comments. I see we've got a couple viewers, but nobody's speaking up. But we basically talked about the cost, the insane cost of healthcare costs, which have gone through the roof, where we pay more, get less. And we've talked about the insane costs of running political campaigns. And even if they okay, so we got somebody popped in with a question. I'm glad to see it. I think official Lil Silver, I have a question. Even if they pass a law to legalize abortion, it will get challenges sent back to the U.S. Supreme Court where they will strike the law down. The Supreme Court must be expanded. Well, first off, it's not true. If Congress puts it on the ballot in all 50 states and we approve it, the Supreme Court can't do anything. Also, Congress can pass laws to make it legal, and the Supreme Court can't do anything about it. That's the way it works. The will of the people, the elected people, takes precedent over the people who are on the court. But I still say that we've got 4 people on the Supreme Court that are illegitimate. 3 because they were appointed by people hell-bent on overthrowing our government, committing treason, sedition, whatever you want to call it, and twisting laws so that they could put their people in instead of our people. Those people need to be removed. Clarence Thomas has a severe problem that his wife is a traitor to this country and seditious. Never mind the fact that, hey, she's white, he's black, and that was illegal in the time of the Constitution. He's an originalist. So if we want to make that the law, if we want to go by what they wrote in the Founding Fathers, one, he's only got 3/5 of a vote, and two, he ain't married to Jenny anymore. We could throw her ass in jail, excuse me, but hey, that's where she belongs. But the Supreme Court being expanded, that's an awful lot of work, and more cooks in the kitchen doesn't make for a better meal. We've had the court expanded. It started out at 6. It's up to 9. Can we make it better? Yeah, we can remove the people that were put in there who lied to everybody saying stare decisis was law and that you have to go by decided law, because they basically broke that oath when they reversed Roe v. Wade. So I hope that answers your question. But there's other things we could do. Like if this is what you Republicans really want and the Supreme Court wants, let's just pass a law right now that says every pregnant woman will immediately be given full prenatal health care, will be given free birth, won't cost her a dime. She'll give 6 months paid leave for the first 6 months of raising her kid. And she will get paid to do that, okay? We're going to pay her like they do in other countries. And then her child care is taken care of from then until age 18, where she doesn't have to pay a dime to take care of her kid while she's working. You pass that and see how it goes. And by the way, college for all children is now free because we had to have them according to the reversal of Roe v. Wade. So not real hard to fix. Republicans will say, oh, we can't afford that. We can afford anything we want. We proved that during COVID. How much money have we given to the Ukraine that we didn't have in the budget before, February? We can print money until the money runs out, and it's not going to run out as long as we have more nuclear bombs than everybody else. This whole Republican crap about smaller government, less regulation being more effective is crap. They've spent more, they've deficit spent more, they've grown the government more in every instance, and yet they continue to come up with these lies. So, hope that answers your questions. And oh, by the way, if we want to legalize abortion, we can just say we're going to take all the marshals out of the federal buildings and all the metal detectors, and we're not going to spend any money on hardening schools because it's free for all, wild, wild west. We can take those offices and the money we were spending on the marshals, and we can just open up abortion clinics in every federal building in every state in the country and just say, okay, abortion's here. It's on federal land, and you can't do anything about it. Nya, 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 nya. Could do that. It's an option. Thanks, AOC. That was a pretty good idea. This whole thing about telling people what they can and can't do with their bodies is sort of out of line with what the Republicans say they stand for. This is not about the babies. This is about control of women. And it's got to stop. I don't see any other questions. I don't see anybody else saying hello. And it is past my time, but I guarantee you dial in tomorrow at 4 o'clock. We'll be here again, live, answering your questions. I'm talking about another topic. If you have any questions for today, you put them in the comments below, and I will start by responding to them tomorrow. 4 o'clock, we'll be here, same time, same place. I'm David Esrati. You can find out more at electesrati.com. If you feel like you want to support my campaign, my cause, electesrati.com/donate. Have a great Tuesday, and we will see you tomorrow. Thank you.